It was Malik's least favorite day, presentation day at school. Every student in Mr. Howard's 8th grade class had to talk about their family. Some brought pictures, others showed slideshows, a few even brought in their parents. Malik sat quietly in the back. His hands were sweaty. He had no slideshow, no family photo, just a paper in his hand and a secret in his heart. Mr. Howard looked at him and said, "Malik, you're next." The whole class turned to look at him. Malik stood up slowly. He walked to the front of the room, his head down. Kids whispered and smirked. Malik knew what they thought, that he had no father, that he was just some quiet black kid who stayed invisible. He cleared his throat and began. "My name is Malik Brown. I live with my mom. She works 2 jobs. I don't know much about my father, but I believe he's a police officer." There was silence. Then it happened. A loud burst of laughter. It started with Jason, the class clown. "A cop? Your dad? Come on, man." More laughter followed. Even the quiet students giggled. One girl shook her head and whispered, "As if." Malik's face turned red. He stared at the paper in his hands. His voice cracked, but he kept going. "My mom told me she met him before I was born. She said he was a white cop, and she never saw him again." Jason stood up and said loudly, "So your dad's white? What, is he Batman too?" The whole class laughed again. Even Mr. Howard gave a small smile before trying to calm the room. All right, let's settle down," he said, but his voice lacked strength. Malik didn't cry. He didn't run. He just walked back to his seat, his papers still in hand. But inside, he felt broken. After class, Jason threw a note on Malik's desk. It read, "No dad. No proof. No chance." Malik sat still, reading the words again and again. That night, Malik didn't talk much. His mom noticed. "You okay, baby?" she asked while cooking dinner. He nodded, just tired. But after dinner, while she was asleep on the couch, Malik opened the old photo box she kept hidden under the bed. He had seen it once, long ago. Inside was a picture, a blurry one. A tall white man in a police uniform, standing beside his young mother, both smiling. On the back of the photo was a name, Officer Daniel Miller. Malik stared at the picture for a long time. The man had light eyes, short brown hair, strong jaw. He touched his own face in the mirror. He had his mother's skin, but those eyes, they were the same. He whispered to himself, "That's him." The next day, Malik skipped lunch. He went to the school library instead. He searched online for Officer Daniel Miller, local police. And there he was. Sergeant Daniel Miller, still serving. A respected officer, awards, community work, smiling in every photo. Malik's heart pounded. He printed one of the photos and folded it carefully into his notebook. He didn't know what to do next. But something had changed inside him. He was tired of being laughed at. Later that week, Mr. Howard handed back the family project scores. Malik got a B-. Jason leaned over and whispered, "A fake dad gets you a B. Maybe I'll say mine is the president next time." Malik didn't respond. He opened his notebook and stared at the photo of Officer Miller. The laughing didn't hurt as much now. Because now he had a face, a name, and deep down, a fire. He wasn't going to let this go. Malik sat at the back of the school bus, staring out the window. In his pocket was the photo of Officer Daniel Miller, the man he believed was his father. His fingers kept touching the edge of the picture like it was a lifeline. He had stared at that photo all night. The man's uniform, his smile, the way his arm rested around Malik's young mother. It wasn't just a random photo. It meant something. But no one believed him. Not Jason, not the teachers, not even the people online who answered his questions with sarcasm or silence. He didn't have proof. Not yet. But he had a name, a face, and a plan. At home later that day, Malik waited until his mom was in the kitchen. Then, slowly, he walked in with the photo. "Mom," he said softly. She turned, wiping her hands on a towel. "Yes, baby." He held the photo up. "This man, Officer Miller, is he really my father?" Her smile faded. Her eyes looked down. She didn't speak right away. "Where did you find that?" she finally asked. "It was in your old box." Her hands shook just a little. She reached for the photo but didn't take it. "Tell me the truth," Malik said, his voice steady. "I'm old enough now." She sighed. "Yes, that's him." Malik felt like the room tilted. Even though he already believed it, hearing the truth hit differently. "Why didn't you ever tell him about me?" he asked. Tears filled her eyes. "I tried, but he made it clear he wasn't ready. He didn't believe me, and I didn't have the strength to fight him. So I raised you alone." Malik sat down slowly. "He's still on the force. He works downtown." She looked at him sharply. "How do you know that?" "I searched online. I saw him. He has awards. He helps kids, but he doesn't know he has one of his own." His mother's eyes softened. "You're so much like him. Brave, stubborn, quiet but smart." Malik looked down. "Can I meet him?" She hesitated. "I don't know if he'll believe you or want to see you." "Then I'll make him believe me," Malik whispered. The next day, after school, Malik didn't go home. He took the city bus to the downtown police station. His hands were cold, his legs shaky, but he walked up the steps like he belonged there. Inside, a receptionist sat behind a glass window. She looked up. "Yes." Malik cleared his throat. I'd like to speak to Sergeant Daniel Miller." She raised her eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, ma'am. I just need 5 minutes." She frowned. "What's it about?" Malik took a deep breath. "It's personal, I believe. He's my father." Her eyes widened. She looked at him longer now, trying to see a resemblance. "Wait here," she said. 10 long minutes passed. Finally, the door opened, and a tall man in a police uniform walked out. It was him, Sergeant Miller. His face was older, but the eyes were the same. The jawline, the walk. He looked directly at Malik. "You wanted to see me." Malik stood up. "Yes, sir." Daniel Miller looked confused. "Do I know you?" Malik shook his head. "No, sir. But I think you should." He handed the photo to him. The moment Daniel saw it, something changed. His face tensed. His fingers tightened around the picture. "Where did you get this?" he asked quietly. "That's you," Malik said. "With my mom. Her name is Angela Brown." Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. "I'm her son," Malik continued. "And I think you're my father." Silence filled the room. Daniel glanced at the photo again, then back at Malik. "Look, kid, this was a long time ago. I don't know what your mother told you. She didn't tell me anything. I found this on my own, but she confirmed it." Daniel's voice turned cold. "You need to leave now." Malik's heart sank. "Please, I just..." "Leave." A nearby officer stepped forward, but Daniel raised his hand. "I'll handle it." Malik turned and walked away. He didn't cry until he reached the bus stop. Back at home, his mother saw his face and knew something had gone wrong. "He told me to leave," Malik said. "He looked right at me and still didn't care." She hugged him tightly. "I'm so sorry, baby." But Malik wiped his tears. "It's not over. I'll prove it. DNA. Whatever it takes." Malik sat in the nurse's office at school, holding a cotton swab and a small plastic tube. His fingers were shaking. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. Mr. Thomas, the school counselor, stood nearby. He was the only adult who had listened when Malik explained everything. "You sure you want to do this?" Mr. Thomas asked gently. Malik nodded. It's the only way. If the police officer won't believe me with his eyes, maybe he'll believe science. Mr. Thomas handed him the sealed DNA test kit. I bought this myself. I believe you, Malik, but you should be ready. The truth doesn't always come easy. Malik looked up. I don't need easy. I just need the truth. 2 days earlier, after being thrown out of the station, Malik had felt lost. But his heart told him something. Don't give up. That night, he searched online for how to prove paternity and found hundreds of stories, some fake, some real, but they all pointed to one answer: a DNA test. He didn't have money for it. His mom couldn't afford one either. So the next day, he went to school and asked the one teacher who always believed in him, Mr. Thomas. And to Malik's surprise, Mr. Thomas had taken it seriously. Now here he was, swabbing the inside of his cheek and sealing it inside a small, clear tube. Back at the station, Officer Daniel Miller sat at his desk, typing up reports, but his mind was somewhere else. That boy's face haunted him. His eyes, his voice, even the way he stood. Daniel tried to shake it off. Just a coincidence, he muttered, but the photo had brought back memories, ones he had buried for years. Angela. She was quiet, kind, and brave. She had told him she was pregnant, and he had walked away. He had been young, scared, and stupid. Now the past had walked into his station wearing a school uniform and hope in his eyes. 3 days later, Mr. Thomas handed Malik an envelope. It came today. Malik took a deep breath. He could barely open it. Inside was a letter and 2 sets of numbers. DNA match, 99.99%. Malik's hand started shaking again, this time for a different reason. He's my dad, Malik whispered. Mr. Thomas smiled. Yes, and now you have the proof. Malik's plan. That evening, Malik printed 2 copies of the letter. He slipped one into an envelope and walked back to the police station. This time, he didn't ask for an appointment. He walked up to the same front desk. Please give this to Officer Daniel Miller. He'll know what it means. Then he left. Later that night, Officer Miller sat in his car, holding the envelope. His hands didn't open it for a full minute. But when he did, and saw the result, everything inside him cracked. All those years, all that denial. And now, a son walking around without a father. He sat there in silence for a long time, then started the engine. He had to fix this. Back at Malik's house, Malik sat at the kitchen table, playing with a pencil, when someone knocked on the door. His mom opened it and froze. Daniel, she said in shock. He nodded. May I come in? Malik stood up slowly, his heart pounding again. Daniel stepped in. I got your test results. I read them. And I'm sorry for everything. Silence filled the room. I didn't know, Daniel said, looking at Malik. And when you showed up, I didn't want to believe it. But the truth is right here, standing in front of me. Malik said nothing. His throat was too tight. Daniel's voice broke. I missed all your birthdays. I missed your first steps, your first words. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want to try, if you'll let me. Malik stared at him. The man who had once turned him away now stood with tears in his eyes. I don't want money, Malik said softly. I don't want anything fake. Daniel stepped forward. I want to be your father, Malik, the kind you deserve, if you'll let me. The sun was just rising when Malik opened his violin case. He looked at the old, scratched instrument with care. It wasn't new, it wasn't shiny, but it had soul, just like him. He ran his fingers over the strings and took a deep breath. Today wasn't just another school performance. Today, his whole life was about to change. Earlier that morning, Malik sat at the breakfast table, dressed in his school uniform. His mom watched him, worried and proud. She handed him a folded paper. "What's this?" Malik asked. "A note I wrote for you. You don't have to open it now," she said with a soft smile. Malik nodded, slipping it into his pocket. He didn't ask questions. He could feel it in his heart. This day would be big. And when the doorbell rang, he already knew who it was. He opened the door, and there stood Officer Daniel Miller. Now just Daniel. He wasn't in uniform. He wore a blue shirt, jeans, and the most nervous smile Malik had ever seen. "Ready?" Daniel asked. Malik stared at him. "Are you?" Daniel nodded. "I've missed every moment of your life, Malik. I don't want to miss this one." At school, the auditorium. The school was holding a talent show. Teachers, parents, and students filled the small gym-turned auditorium. Kids joked. Some clapped. Others yawned. No one expected much. Malik waited backstage, gripping his violin. His hands were sweaty. Behind him, Daniel stood silently, watching. "Do you think they'll listen?" Malik asked without turning around. Daniel took a deep breath. "They might not, but they'll never forget it." The announcer stepped forward. "Next up, we have Malik Johnson performing a piece on the violin. Let's give him a warm welcome." The claps were weak. A few students chuckled. One whispered, "Oh great, the violin kid again." Malik walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. His heart beat fast. He could feel all the eyes on him, judging, doubting. But then he looked to the side and saw his mother in the crowd. Next to her was Daniel, his father, and everything changed. He lifted the violin to his shoulder. The room went quiet. The first note was soft, gentle, like a whisper. Then came the second, sharper, clearer. And then the third, a sound full of sorrow, pain, and something else, hope. The notes floated through the air like wind through trees. No one spoke. No one blinked. The same students who had laughed before now leaned forward. Some tilted their heads. Some held their breath. The music spoke for him. Each stroke of the bow told a story, his story. A boy who grew up without knowing his father. A mother who carried all the weight alone. A name, a photo, a face that brought back old memories. And a truth that took courage to prove. As the final note faded, the silence in the room was deep. Then came the sound no one expected. Clapping. It started with a single person. Daniel. Then his mother. Then the teachers. And then, slowly, the students, all of them. They stood up and clapped. Not just because he played well, but because, for the first time, they felt something. After the performance, backstage, Malik was wiping sweat from his face. Daniel came over and hugged him tight. "That was more than music," he whispered. "That was your voice, and it was powerful." Malik looked up. "I'm not scared anymore." Daniel smiled. "Good, because we still have something else to face." Malik tilted his head. "What?" Daniel held up his phone. "Tomorrow, we go to court." Malik blinked. "Why?" Daniel's voice was calm but firm. "Because I need to tell the judge the truth, and so do you." Scene hook ending. Last lines of part 4. Malik opened his mother's folded note from his pocket. One sentence was written in soft handwriting. "You are not alone anymore." He looked at Daniel, then at the stage. Tomorrow, it wouldn't just be music that spoke. It would be Malik himself, in court, to the world. The courtroom was packed. Some came for justice. Some came out of curiosity. But no one was ready for what was about to happen. Malik sat beside his mother, wearing a neat shirt and nervous eyes. He glanced at Daniel Miller, the police officer who once arrested his mom, the man who had just learned he was Malik's real father. The judge entered. The room stood. Silence followed. And the trial began. The case. Malik's mother was wrongfully arrested 10 years ago for a theft she never committed. The arresting officer, Daniel Miller. At the time, she was pregnant with Malik. She had screamed that she was innocent, but no one listened. Until now. Now Daniel had returned, not as a cop, but as a witness, as a father. The judge looked confused. "Why are we reopening this old case?" she asked. Daniel stood up. His voice was calm but firm. "Because I made a mistake, Your Honor, and it destroyed a family." Gasps filled the room. The judge leaned forward. "Explain." Daniel's confession. "I arrested Miss Johnson 10 years ago, but I didn't follow the full procedure. I had doubts, but I didn't check. I assumed. I rushed. She paid the price for my mistake." The judge narrowed her eyes. "And what changed now?" Daniel looked at Malik, then back at the judge. "Because I found out. She was pregnant at the time. And that child," he pointed toward Malik, "is my son." The courtroom froze. No one moved. Even the judge blinked twice. "What?" Daniel took out the DNA papers and handed them to the bailiff. The judge read them slowly. Her face turned pale. This confirms it." Everyone whispered. Reporters took notes. Some people gasped again. A few students from Malik's school were there too, and even they were speechless. The same kid they laughed at, the boy with a violin, now stood at the center of a truth that broke the whole courtroom's silence. The judge looked at Malik. "And you, do you have anything to say?" Malik stood up. He didn't have a lawyer. He didn't use big words. He just spoke with heart. "I was always told I didn't have a father. People laughed at me, even at school. When I said I thought I knew who he was, they laughed harder." He paused, voice shaking. "But I wasn't lying. I felt it. I saw it in his eyes. I just didn't know how to prove it. Until now." He took out the violin. The same old violin. The one that spoke louder than words. "Before I came here, I played this at school. Not for trophies, but to be heard. Now I want you to hear it too." He stepped to the center of the courtroom. The judge allowed it. Everyone watched. And he played. Soft. Slow. Strong. Each note was like a cry from the past. Each sound told of a child growing up wondering why his father wasn't around, and why the world didn't believe his truth. When he finished, no one clapped. Not because it wasn't good, but because they were frozen. Even the judge looked down for a moment, wiping her eye. "Court finds the previous arrest invalid. All records will be cleared. Miss Johnson is fully innocent," the judge announced. Then she turned to Daniel. "And you, Officer Miller. Your name may still be in the system, but it's your next actions that will define who you really are." Outside the courtroom, cameras flashed, reporters surrounded them, but Malik didn't care. He stood in the middle of the crowd, holding his mom's hand. Daniel walked beside them. For once, he didn't feel like the black kid without a dad. He felt seen. He felt strong. He felt whole. Last scene, a week later. The school held a special assembly. This time, Malik wasn't sitting at the back. He stood on stage, next to his father, who was invited as a guest speaker. Principal Thomas held the mic. Sometimes we forget to look past a person's skin, clothes, or silence. But people have stories we can't see. Malik Johnson reminded us of that. Malik stepped forward. "And if they don't believe your truth, play it loud enough until they do."